Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, 早上好. Hey. And Ohio gozaimasu. So today I'll be speaking in English, and I'm representing AB Concept. We're founded in Hong Kong. My apologies to the organizer that there was a change in the speaker. So our managing director, Johnny, fell sick, so I am standing in for him. I am AB Concept's project director. So for us, I'll be with you for the next 30 minutes, giving you a glimpse into AB Concept, who we are, what we do, and how we think. And for everybody familiar with us, we are 24 years and keeping in the going. For 24 years in the business, we consider this a privilege. We consider this as a pedigree. And henceforth, there's always a sense of confidence for everybody from AB Concept, because we know what we're doing and what we have behind us in all 24 years of history. There's two men's vision. Yes, of course, they're not here today. They are in the mountains in Karizawa. And of course, when they decide that they want to move to Japan and in a different environment, breathe the freshness of the mountains air, we have our managing director, Johnny, who come in here to take over the reins. We work remotely for the past 3 years. They're not here in Hong Kong, but we see them every day. Yeah, and this in close communication. Every single detail, design, review, they're all very closely keeping in touch with the team. And there's 5 offices: Taipei, Hong Kong, Milan, and London, and of course in Tokyo. Yes. There are 48 of us in AB Concept. We are not a big company. Yeah, and henceforth, when we have projects, we want to really make sure when we're committed to a project, we must get it ongoing. We must have it built. We don't want to just have it on paper. It's very important for us that every one of us, 48 of us, are committed. That's why a project, when we sign on a contract, it has to be a project that we love and we know we'll carry it through for the next 2, 5, 7 years to come. There are 16 countries that we have our footprints over the world, and of course 41 cities from China here, and then we've got in Middle Eastern and US as well. There are 53 hotels and brands that we are very familiar with. The operators love us, and we are very grateful for that. And I do think there must be a reason for this love. And we want to be very communicative with every brand that we collaborate with. I think for AB Concept, this is the key point, and all the employees here recognize this. And there are 55 developers that we work with so far and counting. There are more than this, of course. And in Japan, we've got KQ. We have also Extel in New York. We have got New World, yes. And here there are 80 restaurants and bars that we have completed throughout our 24 years. Doesn't seem like a lot. It's because every project requires that length of time to carry out to our vision. And further on, we have 49 stars. Yeah, so 49 stars and counting. We just got one last week. Yeah, I'll show you which one. And 66 awards so far in various categories. Then there's only one mission, though. When we design, we are not looking at decorating the wall, ceiling, floors. We're looking at how people feel. And when you are here with me right now, you are being here, you're experiencing, you're listening, you're seeing, and this is your being. For us in AB Concept, we recognize that you being here would take you away. You go back, you think about it, and then you will want to maybe tell somebody about it. And this is a motivation, and these are all intangible emotions. So this is our mission, to make sure that our design are memorable, it stays in people, and you tell people as motivation about it. And I want to share some highlights for the projects. It's going to be 30 minutes, so I won't be showing all 24 years of portfolio, naturally. And the first, and welcome to K11 Museum, and welcome to K11 Atelier. Our part in the design is from the start of the conceptualization There are many people here who contribute to the success of this. We don't claim to be the sole, and we are again collaborators with every partners and brands and clients. In here, just a very quick highlights on what we have. You go around, we believe in touch points. So in AB concept, all the small little things that you touch, you see. For instance, you know, if you go to the shopping mall, you find a book, and that's our lift button. Yeah, it's very, you know, gimmicky. It's just something to make it more light-hearted. You know, we want to think about lift button. We think about lift buttons whenever we do public residence and everything. Something to make it memorable, something to make it fun, unexpected. And our involvement is also in terms of like the original vision for the interiors. And I'm sure Lab will elaborate a lot more, the whole entire 30 minutes on this later on. And here you can see that there are little lighting globes throughout the entire shopping mall. They span through the organic freeform waves, movements through. We originally envisioned them to be like the galaxy. So there's a lot of narratives that we build whenever we do a project. The first step, you may look at a narrative and just, oh, it's just a concept, but it took us a lot to build something out and realize it true. Moving on, we have the next one. This is our new star from last week across Middle Eastern in Kuwait. So that's for Grand Hyatt and a Chinese restaurant called Mei Li. We have in here, that's the chef doing the Beijing Ya, and that's the table OS&E that we also vetted and commented. Then moving into the highlights of the project. In Middle Eastern, it's strong sun, strong colors, and strong saturation. It's something that we recognize whenever we take on a project. In the geography of the world, everywhere is different, everywhere is unique, everywhere deserve to have something to call of their own. And we study them, not just pretty things. So you look at this, the owners are extremely happy, and this was carried out during the COVID times, by the way. The blue, and on the first image here is the pre-dinner drinks. It's got like a transition zone, and here this would be the glass beads. We started out as a sketch, as with all designers, I'm sure. And then moving on to the main dining space and into the PDRs with the red. So it's two primary colors, extremely strong, but they all blend in successfully. And that's Kuwait for you. We move on to Milan, and that's Paper Moon. I'm sure people are familiar with it. It's a very intimate Italian restaurant brand. If you're in Milan, any fashionista, gallery curators, anybody, this is their second home, Paper Moon. So Paper Moon all over the world, even in Hong Kong as well. This one, you can see we have produced this in a very, I wouldn't say it's a heritage building, but it's an old building. When we finished the design, and there was a demolition, so we tore down the ceiling and we realized, oh, there's a beautiful ceiling mural up there in the ceiling. We highlight it, we make it the star, and have your eye drawn upwards because the surrounding parameters are quite tight, and it's one of the tricks that we use in the design as well. Moving on to London, and that's for Four Seasons Meume, a Japanese restaurant predominantly. So this is a heritage building. We have over 200 years old of history in this building, and with this, they are so strict about everything. No ceiling installation, no nothing on the capital of the columns, no for everything. We are used to it. We are happy to get constraints. Constraints serve us to solve, to give a solution. You would observe all the ceiling fixtures are from the wall mounted. So there's nothing on the ceiling up there for lighting illumination. So all the colors are also very, what we would think as a warm and inviting interiors. And moving forward, the entrance of the restaurant, the moment you go in, so it's extremely memorable, thousands of Instagram shots on that. Going forward, we have video. I'm not sure if it's gonna be okay to play. Bringing you into, just to show you London Meume. Oh, but there's no. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. We added a clip. I think it's easier for everybody to visualize when you have movement and you're inside a space instead of just looking at 2D. Going forward, apart from the beautiful restaurants that you've seen just now, our other strength is Fusco Hotel. You're looking at another recent completion in Algarve, a very hotspot touristic area in Portugal. And for W, this is our one out of the 7th W hotel that we have designed so far. And in W, it's always very tricky. It's strong narrative, strong stories, and you need to be impactful instantaneously, but without being too gimmicky. And this is always the challenge for W. And we also have Back to Hong Kong, 4 Seasons. This is Argo. Please feel free to go and take a look as well. Where we design the interiors is not just, again, for the 4 walls, we go into the collaterals, the OS and E, all the uniforms and the vetting. We don't design them, but we control that to make sure that the narrative is consistent throughout, from the story that we have to even the menu, and even to the colors of the shoes, of the tablecloth, or the uniform for the staff. In Argo, the name is name of a ship. So it's where Jason steer the ship, go around looking for treasures around the world. And we think of Argo that we have designed similar to that instance, where you go into the interior, you look for all the beautiful things, and you collect them in your brain, you keep them as a mental library. This is the hotel's idea of getting all the different ingredients and inspirations. We have the menu here, and here today, gone tomorrow is really apt. And that's a close-up snippets of our PDR in the restaurant. It's a tricky project. It's not just a bar, not just a specialty destination bar, but also all the dining. I think this is the transformation that we have, the operations demands that we serve. It's a lot more trickier than thinking about whether it's blue or red. Yeah. That's the PDR in here. And going into, before you enter the PDR, this is the exterior of the Argo bar. In the daytime, in the nighttime, we design the interior. We visualize about how people, when you wake up from your hotel, you go downstairs, how do you transit from the lift car and go down to the restaurant? And when you come back after all your shopping and everything else at the nighttime at 9 p.m., how do you feel when you go back to your corridors, back to your guest room? This is a very conscious act and conscious thought in all of us in AB concept. And moving forward, ta-da, so this is all the Instagrams. What we're trying to say is that it's just human nature. Everybody wants to remember and capture something beautiful. Yeah. And so we've got the pandemic. We wanted to just let people understand how we worked during that period of time. It was tough. I think everybody here, we are all affected, we are all impacted by it. And we have endless meetings, endless Zooms. This is probably how I feel during the pandemic. Yeah. So this is our mascot, Eds and Terrence, pet dog. So that's all of us in AB Concept here, having Zooms and having meetings. When we have all this, the Kuwait project, for example, they sent the furniture from Kuwait to Hong Kong because we couldn't fly. This is the extent of crazy ideas and solutions that we need to find in order to keep the project going. We need to help them handle the logistics in Hong Kong for the storage, for the cargo, for the shipment, everything. As an assistant, even though it's not our job, but we want to make things happen. So yeah, they ship from Middle Eastern to here. Apart from that, we also have to have many video live streams. One of the project in Xiamen, which is Water of Estero, was completed in that instance. A lot of video tracking and communication, and also thankfully the client's understanding. Yeah, of course, ultimately some things never change. We still go on to create beautiful memories, and we have things that we want to keep strong to our core. We want to share with you as well, looking forward, some of the projects that we have in our pipeline. Say this one, in fact, this is just opened last week in Raffles Hotel for the Paper Moon London. And then we have Extel in New York City next to the Central Park. And definitely Rosewood in Red Sea. This is, if everybody is aware, it's a huge development of about 12 hotels in one span of a few islands, and Rosewood is one of them. We're very honored to be part of this project. And in Ho Chi Minh City, this is Marriott's largest residence, about 4,000 units in total. And here we have a special project in Tokyo, no names mentioned, but it's just special and it's fun. Just want to have you take a look at this in terms of our idea. And in conclusion, we wanted to share that the design is a lens to how we help you see things in a different way. I wouldn't even use the word help. I would just say enable people to see things in a different manner. And I think that's what's beautiful about it. You have different vision, different thoughts, and you come together, you merge them, you brainstorm, and you produce beautiful products from there. Ultimately, design is about being here, being in the moment, and enjoying it as it is. And thank you, everyone. Yes, yeah.
Hi. Thank you for the very precise 10 minutes presentation.
Oh, okay.
It's very precise, thank you. But you started a little bit earlier than me, so I haven't been able to introduce you properly. Have you introduced yourself? Actually, it's Lisa Huang from AB Concept. She's the project director. All right, thank you very much. Please remain at the stage. May I please invite our board member from HKIDA, Dr. Tris Key, to present a certificate of appreciation to Lisa on behalf of Johnny, originally. Thank you. Later, yeah, because we have a very long panel discussions after this. So please be seated. Thank you. And next, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Otto Ng, from co-founder of Lab, who is also a co-designer for this project at K11 Mill C. So I will just pass the mic to Otto. Can we have another round of big applause to Otto?
Thank you, Wesley. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here to give you a sharing on our experience with the K11 Museum and Victoria Dockside. So to introduce ourselves, I'm the director of Lab Architects. So we call ourselves LAAB. The two A's represent art and architecture. And we are actually a team of 50 designers, architects, makers, engineers, and sociologists. Even though we are not quite a big company, but we are truly interdisciplinary. And this is a picture we actually took 5 years ago, and now our average age has also risen for 5 years. So we are very honored to have participated in this big facelift project for the waterfront of Hong Kong. And here we are at this core of this development. So this is quite a large mixed-use development, and we are honored to be part of it alongside with New World's team, from project management to communications and so on, and all the operators, as well as 100 creative powers who have collaborated and participated in this project. So our role in this project is actually very unique. So we are not the so interior designers or architects for a single tower or the shopping mall. But we are the architect of special features throughout the project. So what does it mean is we have the opportunity to work alongside with many architects and designers to add extra moments to different parts of the project. And these moments include both interior design, architecture, landscape design, artwork, and experiences. And all of these moments happen all throughout the entire Victoria Dockside and HKIDA Museum, from the exterior into the interiors and back to the roofscape. With all these many small pieces, many small projects, together they form a single narrative. We call it the urban nature. So this urban nature concept is truly Hong Kong. I'm not sure if you have recognized Hong Kong is a hugely intense, very dense city. But in fact, 70% of our space is actually nature. Comparing to many other cities, we have huge amounts of nature. And the reason why we call it urban nature is we want to bring Hong Kong people back to the nature within the very urban center. So the first concept of urban nature is how we can draw inspirations from our mother nature, both its form, its movements, its growth, and so on. We try to learn from it and try to create an environment that is truly lateral. But the second interpretation of urban nature can be very Hong Kong. We interpret urban nature as the character, the urban character of Hong Kong. And these three pictures are examples of how Hong Kong we are. Nowhere of the world you can see so many bus stops aligned together. In nowhere you can see that many escalators that everyone has traveled every day in Hong Kong. And considering the rooftops, there are huge amounts of air conditioners to keep us cool all the time. So what if we can bring the concept of urban nature into these urban characters, urban features, and transform them into a special experience? So I'm going to introduce 5 to 6 selected parts of this project, starting with the treescape. So one of the first early mission that we are commissioned is to think about the streetscape downstairs. Yeah. Okay. Okay, no worries. Thank you, Wesley. So this is Salisbury Road, which is right under where you see it. This is a main road along Tsim Sha Tsui. And I remember in the very early days when I was young, my parents actually bring me to see the trees, to see the Christmas decorations along the old New World Center. But this is like the kind of streetscape that we see when we first arrive at site. And the buildings that there are very Unitarian and not interesting. So our idea is to transform the Salisbury Road back to a treescape by introducing structures that can be blending into the trees along the street. And this is also a very important design which can create the portal to the entire HKIDA Museum and Victoria Dockside, because this is the exit of the MTR metro. So our idea has been studied through 3D printed models, as well as a lot of drawings to examine the structure and how the design can work better. So we have a lot of hexagons, and then we try to rotate the modules of the columns and try to create variations in order to create a more lateral treescape. And that is not totally intuitive, but we use a lot of software to understand the structural performance of it, as well as the water drain performance of how water can be collected. And this design has also been extended all through the street by transforming also all the bus stops into these kind of hexagonal tree structures, providing shades to the pedestrians and also beautify the street. The second part is the garden restroom. This was the original restroom before the demolition, and then we are tasked to transform it. So this is our updated design. We actually reduce the size of the bathroom, but then make it more like a part of the garden experience, and that's why we call it garden restroom. So the idea is to remove the boundary between the interior and the exterior, so that we can enjoy our garden experience, even you are in the bathroom. So this was the original experience, and this is the transformed experience. So there are things that you cannot actually experience now by looking at the visuals. There are sound, there are sound of the birds and also moving water, and there also the smell of nature actually inside the bathroom. And we try to do it by concealing actually all the speakers inside these elements. And then the difficult thing is we really have to satisfy all the government regulations. So there are a lot of specifications coming from the government, but we try to organize them in a nice way. Okay, so besides the public ground, we are also tasked to transform the rooftops of the Key 11 Museum, which is right behind where you are. Okay, so there are two rooftops. The bigger rooftop is called the Bohemian Garden. So the Bohemian Garden situates at the top of the Key 11 Museum. It's very multifunctional. So there is a big oval lawn in the middle, and then we have designed different structures all around it. So there are lift lobbies. We create a facade where the climbers can actually climb up the facade. We have also designed the arrival canopy for people from the interior to the rooftop, which we wish to extend the interior experience to the rooftop by having an arched portal with transforming lightings. And we have also designed the oval canopies. The oval canopies have different functions. One of them is a playground, and the other is a performance stage. And both of them can actually emit mist, which can help to cool down the temperature during a hot summer day. And then there is also an exterior cafe, which will create tree shelters. These hexagon shelters provide some shades as well as lightings to the outdoor cafe areas. It is also a device that collects water, which helps to make this project more sustainable. And of course, it is also quite beautiful to look at it from the top. And this is a picture photographed by a famous photographer in Hong Kong. Yeah, who you will meet later. Okay, and the other rooftop is the Nature Discovery Park, which is right behind this wall. So normally, as I have shown before, rooftops in Hong Kong are normally occupied by a lot of air conditioning chiller units. So I think the New World project management team, as well as the architect, has spent a lot of effort by removing the air conditioning, relocating them to somewhere, allowing us to actually use the rooftop as a nice public garden. More than that is, this is not only a garden, but we wish to think about different activities while designing the space. So we work very closely with the sustainable team, the ESG team of New World, to actually program an experience while designing the space. So we design not only the interior, but also the pavilion building as well as the roofscape together with other consultants. We wish to create an experience that allows the kids to know that the food on the table is not produced in the supermarket, but somewhere in the farm. So at the center of the space, we actually create an urban farming experience, allowing the kids to do some farming. And then there is a conservatory where the food can be tasted inside. So there's a farm-to-table experience. There are also 2 other experiences related to Hong Kong, including an aquarium. This aquarium is very nice and fresh. It actually represents the Victoria Harbour if there is no pollution. And then there is also a butterfly garden. It features a lot of plants that can actually attract butterfly. And for your interest, Hong Kong is the city that is one of the cities that has the highest number of species of butterfly, even though it's very urban. So the idea of urban nature is again addressed in this project. So this is the farm-to-table experience. And then we also have the opportunity to not only design, but also handcraft these moments. So the door handles, the hanging posts are all handcrafted by our architects and designers. And this space is also a very nice space for all kinds of sustainability events, as well as weddings and parties and so on. So moving on to the interior, we have designed the artisan lounge. It's a bar, it's a cafe, and it's a social space at the very middle center of the atrium. So the idea of having the artisan lounge is to create a welcoming experience for this HKIDA museum. It's a retail and cultural complex, but at the same time, we see that it could be a hotel, to be like a hotel lobby. It gives people a welcoming experience to this space. And of course, this space has been designed by us together with many different consultants, including the AB Concept, in order to realize this very special space that doesn't look like any other shopping malls in Hong Kong. Okay, let me play again. So we have also designed the atrium experience, and then here is a video about several features of it. Escalator climbers. So at the very entry point next to the artisan lounge, it is the escalating climbers. As I've said, I really think that escalator is a truly representation of Hong Kong's verticality. So one of our wishes is to really transform the escalator into a different experience. So when we design the escalator climbers, we hope to create a sculpture that actually transform the experience of entering this retail space. And it starts with like concepts, and then we test it with models to understand how the structure and the geometry work. And then when we are fabricating the design, we actually make bigger and bigger models, such as a 1-to-1 for model, in order to understand how all the geometries work. And then we work with the craftsmen to slowly transform that as a 1-to-1 copy into a steel structure. So the entire thing, I think, is spanned around 15 meters and then 7 to 8 meters high. So it itself is also a big steel truss structure that spans between 3 points. So there are 1 point at the spandrel and the other point at the other spandrel, and then 1 more point at the top. So it's basically a triangular truss structure. So this is a Christmas at K11 Museum, and this is what I meant by transforming the escalator to something else. We successfully make it as a popular place for all kinds of events, and it is used as a stage for a lot of dancing and performances. So the escalator is not just an escalator, but it's more than that. Atrium Oculus. So it's truly a collaborative effort. We work with AB Concept, KPF, Space Majors, and many other consultants and creatives to work on this magnificent space. And what is also interesting is when we were working on this project, we were not told about everything in the project. So the project was also codenamed the Project C. And it's kind of like a discovery experience when we try to open more and more and know more about the project. And so we have worked with a team of local artists to actually hand painted all around the atrium. So whatever you see, there is always a tactile touch because it was hand painted by artists. And this color was also specially chosen together with Adrian Zhang, the CEO of New World. And we have the opportunity to create a magnificent oculus at the very top. So there were actually two big round windows in the architecture, but having two round windows may not look completed. So we were tasked with the mission to actually transform the roof, the ceiling of this space, trying to create a volumetric space together with the maroon panels, as well as the escalator climbers at the very bottom. So our idea is to actually have the escalator climbers climbing up, and create this oculus structure. So this oculus structure itself features two sets of members, the red and the blue, and there are because of the irregular shape, the organic shape of the atrium, there were around 500 different pieces of member, and each member is totally unique. And in order to create all these kind of 3D curves, we have went through a long journey of studies. So we started with 3D printings to understand how it works. And then we also try to do aluminum extrusions, producing this 3D curve member like spaghetti. So basically just extrude them. And then we turn to steel GLP as the final structure. And then we have to go through the burning test for the government to make sure that it won't burn it won't start a fire in the atrium space. And the entire structure is kind of intricate, and then we have to also understand how it can be broken into multiple parts for manufacturing. And of course, we have done a lot of models to understand how the details and the structure work. And then the entire thing was actually built in mainland China, and the one-to-one of it was built, and then we basically have to inspect and modify all the problems to address all the defects in the factory before it is disassembled and then reassembled on site. So this is a very interesting project, and we have also designed the ceiling from here also to the fifth floor in order to complement its design. And the lighting effect of it by Space Major is also magnificent. All the lighting dots that you see there are LED dots, which can be independently controlled. So together, it is actually a big LED screen. So it can have different performances of the light according to the lighting effect required by the event and the functions of the space. And then we think that by looking at the picture, we can have a sense of how the nature can arrive in this atrium space, and it is also a representation of the attitude towards craft and design. Last but not least is the Harbor Kiosk. So this is a project at the intersection of the Salisbury Garden and the Avenue of Star. So this is a very important location because this is also next door to the Museum of Art. So we are tasked to create a food kiosk to replace what was existing. So our idea is to create a food kiosk that is truly Hong Kong. And because it is at the Avenue of Stars, which is a public space dedicated to Hong Kong's movie industry, so we have to think about how to create a cinematic moment. So to me, the most cinematic moments in Hong Kong is always the hawker streets. So they're open stores and they're very busy, but the vibe of it is very energetic and inviting to everyone, not only Hong Kong, but people from all around the world. But not sure if you have noticed, if you arrive earlier in the morning, they're actually super neat. So the contrast between the very neat space and the very busy space itself is a very, very cinematic moment. And what if we can create an action movie out of this cinematic moment? So the idea is to create a harbor kiosk that can open every day by having a transformation of its facade. And in order to resolve the problem that it only open and close once a day, so we create a secondary movement, a wavy moment that can always wave according to the harbor waves. And so in order to produce this, we have to spend a lot of effort into the R&D, and we have to also thank to HKIDA, New World, and the government who have actually approved this audacious design. So this kinetic facade requires a lot of effort to understand the kinetics. So our engineers have worked very closely with the mechanics people to actually develop all the details. The structure, the mechanical, and also the facade materials. Everything has to come together. So for example, the kinetic has to be maintenance-free, and also the facade wood has to be strong enough against thermals and also the sea wind, but at the same time is light enough for the movement to happen. And then this is a picture that we took when we are installing the fins, and it actually kind of interesting to complement the high rise in Hong Kong. So more than that is almost like an art installation of how the transformation work. We have to provide real functions. So at this harbor kiosk, the facade of it caters many different functions. From a tabletop to a water fountain, and it also accommodate vending machine, a bench, and also digital info panels. And itself is also like a store, but the store part is actually quite small. Behind that, we actually have a big server room, a fire water tank, a irrigation pump, a fire service tank, Wi-Fi antenna, and a lot of CCTVs to monitor the public space. So itself is actually a big machines. It's actually quite important because it gives power to the statues and also the controller for all the lightings along the Avenue of Stars. So itself is a big server room. So let me share this video of it as a conclusion of this sharing. So we would also like to thank CSID and JCD by actually awarding this Project Art Design Award. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you, Otto, for giving us a pre-tour of K11 Museum, because after this session, we will have a panel discussion, and after this, we will have the docent. Thank you to K11 for the arrangement. we have a 45 minutes architectural tour of the K11 Museum. So before we resume this session, may I please invite our board member, Dr. Trisky, to present a certificate of appreciation to Otto on behalf. Thank you. At the middle, please. Thank you very much, and good night. And may I have Otto to remain at the stage. And next, I would like to introduce the senior project director of K11 Museum, Mr. Jeff Chong. Jeff is not just only the senior project director of K11 Museum, but also a photographer, as Otto just introduced, and also an artist. Please, Jeff. And we will have our moderator, Dr. Tris, to come to the stage. And please feel free to be seated. And we need the mics.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this lovely morning. We were expecting Typhoon 3. I hope the weather is staying as calm as it is right now. My name is Trisky, so I also belong to the Interior Design Association. So the East Gathering, as you might know, is a very intensive 3 days of activities. So far we've been hosting many events, including seminars, talks, and so this is the panel discussion based on what we had just heard, the lovely presentation of Lisa from AB Concept as well as Otto from LAAB. So perhaps I'll ask the first question and I'll pass it to Jeff because obviously he knows all the ins and outs of this project. Both of you presented very poetic, very lovely journey. And I think as Lisa had mentioned, narrative, AB Concept prides itself of using narratives, storytelling. So your example of Argo references to a ship, right? And then obviously Otto, the waves was becoming a very kind of poetic analogy. So tell me something about your initiation when you first received this such a prestigious project of designing aspects of K11. What were some of the narratives or some of the poetics that came to your mind, and how did you start about designing parts of it?
Hi. So for us, it's always about, I think, first and foremost, we relate very well to Lab's presentation just now of nature. If you notice, even in our projects, there's always abundance, sporadic nature, greeneries, as much as we can. And that was the first vision. In fact, the K11's CEO's agent's first concept was Silicon Valley of culture. So you think about culture is something that is so intangible. You don't quantify it. You can't really describe it. You can't really paint it. It's just there. You don't know what to do about it. So as designers, I mean, we all are designers in all disciplines, be it as architectural, signage, or interior. Our vision is in the head to get it out to the paper. The first narrative that we have is to do this as green as we can. We have so many sub-narratives. One of them is the galaxy, and you can see, like I say, the lighting globes. embedded within the waves that Otto was saying, that's actually individually computerized. We didn't get into that stage with that very technical, but there's many sub-narratives to one big one. Yes.
What about you, Otto? Is it the same? Oculus to the artisan to all these little episodes? What were some of the poetics that you had?
Yeah, I think me, myself, and my team has many different interests. But what is common is we are all interested in poetic moments. We are interested in nature. We're interested in culture. And we are also interested in the arts and craft as well as digital innovations. And all these small dots actually come together as ingredients to bake this big dish. And then what we were, at the time when we were commissioned by Jeff and the team on the design, we have just completed a project on how we salvage the demolished pier wood into a cafe as a example of how we can turn wasted materials from nature into something useful. And that was the time that we have been asking ourselves, what is Hong Kong and what is nature? And as architects and designers, how we can do better in our architectural projects with the concept of nature in mind, with the concept of sustainability in mind, and how we can create magnificent projects with innovations involved. So all these together create subconscious decisions of how we design the structure, the geometry, the materials, and then together they form an experience. So we were not actually asked to do everything at the very beginning. It took about more than a year to have a new project almost every month. Yeah, so we actually start with 2 projects. We start with the bus stop as well as the garden restroom, and then slowly we have continued the geometry, continued the forms, and continued a series of design. So it's interesting to look back, and then we think that the idea of urban nature has been there, and we have the kind of the intentions to create a poetic, natural, and cultural moment for Hong Kong people and the visitors from all around the world.
Oh, lovely. Yes. You want
I must say that for us, because our office is here. Yeah, so as a first-hand experience, as a user of your creation, I'm fully satisfied. Yeah. I mean, I go to the Bohemian Garden for just a walk during lunch hour for a break, and being a foreigner in Hong Kong for 7 years, this entire span, it's just so Hong Kong yet not very Hong Kong. I mean, you have a sense of freshness in here, even though you're just so in this all the concrete. There are sensory experience that's been created by people for this enjoyment, and I just want to add that for his description.
Yes, absolutely. And the mastermind behind this beautiful space, as you probably know, not only just the atrium, but the entire K11, it's a symphony of design, technology, poetics, urban spaces, nature, and everything. From your inception, from day one to now, you see the reality for a couple of years now. Is that something that you see changing all the time? Is that something that lived up to the expectation that you first envisioned what K11, the interior design, should be?
Actually, it's quite difficult to say because I think the perception actually changes every time I came. There are artworks installed in the atrium, and they are going to change it from time to time. There are pop-up stores, there are events. So every time I came to visit a museum again, I felt that kind of, how should I put it? It's like 4 seasons. It's like everything is changing all the time. It's so dynamic. It's so people-orientated. I don't know, every time I came, I felt a bit of emotion inside myself, especially during that, the how should I put it, the what they call
Light market.
the night market. Oh, there were so many people there. I think what Hong Kong need was that kind of vibrancy in the urban scape. We wish we could do more, but of course, all these have to have the blessing of the government. It's not really something that we could always do it, except with some blessing. Like, for example, right now the government is promoting all these night markets, so that's why we could take that opportunity to do something different in museum. So I really hope we could do something more like this. So it could, because originally when Octo and I designed the Avenue of Stars together, we really want to put more F&B there. But unfortunately, we were tied with our hands because of a lot of constraint by LCSD. That's why we could only have 7. But still, I think when we first opened, it was quite successful because people are longing for some refreshments on the promenade when they actually walk or stroll or jog along the promenade. I don't know. To answer your questions, I felt very, I don't know, emotional every time I came back.
I think we all do. I think the architecture can evoke emotion. That is really the key to K11 Museum. Now, you talk about some challenges and you were tied, with your hands and everything. My next question, perhaps to the panel, would be about the constraints and challenges. You acting as a mediator between, I guess, the group of designers that you have, as well as jurisdictions and LCSD, government, et cetera, were there a lot of constraints and difficulties that you have to overcome in terms of hurdles in the fulfillment of K11 Musea at the time?
Your question could be a sharing for 3 hours.
Yes.
So
yes.
I really want to cut a long story short. So I think the main challenges is not it's actually how on the execution side, because with all these big ideas from the designers, I think somehow we have, because we are going to build that ourselves. We are the owner, and we also engage the contractor actually to do that for us as well. So I think apart from all this government thing, etc., I think the key challenge for me and for my team at that time was to make sure all these great ideas are being executed. I won't say perfectly, because these guys are actually doing experiments, to be honest with them. Yes. They're doing experiments. That's why we have so many new things, so many things that you won't be able to see that elsewhere in Hong Kong before these guys actually did that for us. So we accept that. But in order to make the experiment work, there are a lot of coordination work with the contractors, and our guy have to really look into the quality control of the product itself to make sure that it really deliver what these guys want. So yeah, I think this is the main challenges. And to roll back a little bit, actually, we always proud of ourselves that in Victoria Dockside, we have over 100 creative powers. Yeah. Imagine you have 100 students running around in the classrooms.
Bunch of classes.
Teaching different classes at the same time inside the same classroom. Yes. You can imagine how chaotic, in a way, in a way, and challenging in a sense that we have to integrate, for example, Octo with AB concept, and then with Speeds and Major, and then KPF, etc. All these big brains have big ideas that may not be working with each other in the first place. We have to try to make this work, a coherent whole in the final product. So to me, this is a happy challenge in a way, and to see the final product came out and everybody actually admires it.
Yes. For those of you who did not know, Jeff is a very daring developer who had employed many young designers. Like he said, when
Otto was still young.
Yes. Every single aspect was an experiment. And I think the same question I'll ask Otto. You show a slide where you had the R&D for your structure, which is beautiful. Starting from 3D print, as an experiment, and then trying out other means. Do you want to share a little bit more about your R&D process? Because I know that in order to meet fire code, in order to do the double curve, in order to get that profile that you wanted and the shape, it was definitely an evolution and many changes along the way. And it was, I think, new discovery for you every day, right? So you want to share with us your challenges?
Yeah. So I think, thank you. So first of all, I think Jeff has just talked about the challenges in this project, that there are many creative brains. There are more than 100 different firms involved. And remember, we were actually upstairs on the 9th floor. We have the whole floor as a project floor, and then I have to jump from one meeting room to another meeting room all the time. So there are 10 meeting rooms I have to go through every meeting room because our projects are scattered around the project, and there are different project teams, different consultants for each particular project. So there are lots of communications, and the people are not only from Hong Kong, but also from the States, from UK, from Thailand, from Japan. So there are many communications. So communication is always the key. And in terms of R&D, it's also all about communications. So first of all, we have to thank Jeff and New World and everyone in the team who can entrust us to actually realize the project. Because when we first present the project, we were only given like 2 weeks or 1 month to present an idea. And then the idea was, and then we were asked to have the courage to present something different. So we just do whatever we want. And then we were actually quite surprised that the designs were accepted, especially for the Oculus in the atrium, as well as the Harbor Kiosk, the first transforming public architecture in Hong Kong, and we even survived through the government submissions. Like the government was happy with our transforming kiosk idea, which was quite a surprise to us. And given such blessing, so there is no excuse to not to follow through the experimental process. So we took about less than a month to come up with the design, but it took us 2 to 3 years to actually keep the design. Yes. So there are lots of trials, and the trials is not only by keeping the visual outcome of the design, but we also have to satisfy the structure, the fireproofings, the lightings, as well as time and budget. So we were very glad that I actually don't know how we did it, but we find good solutions of resolving it. So we actually think that a good design has set a very clear ambition for everyone in the team, not only our design team, but also our engineers, our contractors, and the client's management team, to really stay to one goal together. And I mean, to be honest, our experience of working with New World and the consultant team was one of the best that we ever had. The vibe on the 9th floor was really, truly great. Almost like remind me of my old days in university. So it's a very studio driven. Everyone wants to do something great and special for Hong Kong. And I would also say that for now, I still see the uniqueness of the K11 Museum, but by the time it was open, it was truly unique. And after that, there are lots of, it's also awakened the awareness of nature, craft, technology for other developments in Hong Kong. So we think that the design has the power to make a change.
Yes, indeed. I think even though I've not been one of the designers participating, but I've always observed it, taking students by Jeff, looking around the space. And I think over the past few years, it really I think K11 Museum stands as a uniqueness in Hong Kong, that it brings in that kind of culture, not only nurturing young designers, but also bringing international designers as well. The peacock that we can see from here, it's from a Dutch designer as well. So not only is the symphony of production, but symphony of all these great stars working together. What about Lisa? Did you have the experience? Now looking back, now you can say it with ease, it was a great collaboration, but when you zoom back to the days, was it painful for you having to?
No, we were spared the pain, yeah, because for us the conceptualization originated from AB concept, and then for the construction stage and everything else, there wasn't that much as we wanted to. There wasn't that time span for that. So we had a vision, and we're very grateful that everybody else carried through that for us. Yeah.
So you were spared from the having to battle.
I can say the word spare, but on hindsight, I think it is feasible only with brains like this and talents and power and the vision from the owners like this. Had there been another collaboration, it may not have been so successful or so smooth, because we actually enjoy dwelling into the construction. We enjoy being on the site and looking at things and touching and solving problems. And you need to get that and to do something that that is technically feasible. It doesn't break your vision, and you have to have this in order to make yourself answerable to yourself, accountable to everybody. So yeah, not in the construction, but in terms of the conceptualization.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I do have more questions, but I want to see if the audience, anyone who would like to ask any questions, any burning desire to challenge, question.
Don't challenge.
We want to be, East Gathering is all about communication and interaction as well. So do raise your hand if you have any question, and we'll have someone to pass the mic to you. 有没有问题? Yeah, any language. You can speak in your own language and we'll be able to translate for you.
Yep. 大丈夫です。
Anyone who has been to K11 Museum before this talk? Anyone who's been to the shopping center downstairs? Not yet? Oh. So that means that architectural tour later, it's a must. Yes. Looking at the slide, I mean, it's fantastic, but I think later when you really experience it, the smell, the visual impact, everything else is a combination.
And have you ever been to a shopping mall where every single washroom is different? I don't think so. Yes, yeah.
And then it was a time when all the shopping malls were white in color in Hong Kong, and then it was pretty daring to make it brown. And I think what's more important is whether you like it or not, it's just different. So you recognize it.
I have to say that you would not see another mall that has the same experience as you see in K11 Museum, still up to today. Even though the project has been completed a couple of years back. So. 有没有问题?
Thanks for a reminder, actually. So for the visitors, please be reminded to visit every single toilet. I think it's going to take more than an hour.
你好，我可能用中文。
没问题。
我是1997年之前我就来过好几次香港，对于早期的东方明珠是有非常深刻的印象。当时在整个亚洲，香港应该是最国际、最有powerful 的一个城市啊。那我不晓得在现在的这个奎利酒店跟 K11，我想应该是在这个世纪，等于是下一个世代香港的一个代表。我想要请教一下，就是怎么样去可以让这个地方重新展现香港的面貌，在这里用什么样子的一个角度跟概念，想要去重塑当时的东方明珠，怎么样回复到那样子的一个时代，在不管是在商业的模式上，或者是在空间设计上的考量上，我想了解一下设计师跟这边的一些想法，谢谢。
好，谢谢你的问题。Maybe I'll translate very quickly. 你想不想问who do you want to ask? 没关系, okay. Well, maybe I'll translate very quickly for those of you who might not understand Mandarin. So once upon a time, before 1997, Hong Kong was known to be the pearl of the East. We had the reputation of really leading Asia, right? Time has changed, as we all probably observe, and we have to admit that as well. So the question was, how do we reignite this aspect? Economically, spatially, design-wise, how can Hong Kong, position itself once more at the forefront of design, economy, etc.? I hope I translated. Yeah, Jeff, perhaps. 你想不想? Yeah.
Okay. 我用英文，好吗？ What I think is, I also see your point about how actually Hong Kong has changed, whether it's for the good or for the bad, in the last couple of years. I think we as a developer would always want to at least do some hardware that is could bring Hong Kong back to the map, international map. So this is one of those kind of projects that could re-establish Hong Kong, especially the Tsim Sha Tsui waterfront, as one of the landmark in Hong Kong and also in Asia and probably in the world as well. That this is actually a very interesting project in here. Originally, it was very very breakthrough project at that time when we actually bought a wharf and turned it into a shopping center cum hotel and office. At that time, it was a very rare development model in the 70s. But as the time changes, we found that the headrooms and all the hardwares are dilapidated. So we decided to actually rebuild it so that we could actually rejuvenate this particular sport into something that is sustainable for the next 50 years. So when we actually asked KPF, asked the designer, even the interior designer to do that for us, we always brief them this idea, is that this project has to be timeless in a way. So I'm glad that the designers actually took this and actually developed their respective ideas based on our brief. So, but in terms of software, I think Hong Kong still need to make itself a bit more accommodating in terms of providing services or providing, I don't know, like the night market recently in Hong Kong. I think it is a lesson for the authority actually to learn. They have to give more free hand to people, to business, to people running business, and also for developer to do something that is more adventurous, more humanistic, and also catering for the need of the people, rather than constraining it with different regulations, etc. I was a small thing. I was talking to a group of friends last night during the Jazz Fest in West Kowloon. It was called off at the last minute. And it was relocated to Lau Bak, that free space. But the performance is really good. International jazz players came as scheduled, and they play inside the free space instead of the open area in West Kowloon. Okay, that apart. But having said that, there were no space inside the restaurant, so we have to stay outside. But the happy thing was, they have small kiosks there, selling drinks, selling beers, selling beef stews, selling a lot of delicacies. So people can buy and drink and eat on the lawn and listening to the jazz. I think this is the kind of experience that we should encourage more people in Hong Kong to promote. Long time ago, Hong Kong was famous for the street food. But right now, because of all these regulations, all these street food were all gone. But come on, you mean in Singapore, there are a lot of hawkers market, which is really, really good. And even in China, and Taiwan as well, you could see a lot of night market selling food where people can enjoy themselves on the street as well. I think maybe it's time for Hong Kong, the authority and the government, to rethink about the model, how they would run the streets of Hong Kong, I think. This could really put back some energy and some creativity for young people or businessmen or designers as well to come up with some really inspiring energy for the future of Hong Kong.
Yes, agree. Otto.
Yeah, I think the charm of Hong Kong as the pearl of the Oriental is still here. But then it's only that because there are many cities around Hong Kong in mainland China or all through Asia getting better and better.
Yeah.
So the contrast is not as obvious as it was pre-1997. And because of the pandemic, we also lost the opportunity to travel around to see what's going on. So it was just my first time going to Taipei a couple months ago, and then I'm going to Japan in 2 months to really see what new things has opened. So throughout the last 3-4 years, we actually just opened Key 11 Museum Victoria Dockside right before the pandemic. So that's why not many people has visited here. But at the same time, there are also important infrastructures, such as the M+ Museum, the biggest contemporary museum in Asia, has also opened, together with other museums and public spaces. And talking about public space, this place was called the New World Center, and it was built in the 1970s. And it was also the place where we came with my parents to see the firework every year. Everyone tried to pack themselves at the harbor front to see the firework. But this is no longer happening. No longer happening as in that density, because gone were the days when we can only see the firework at the Tsim Sha Tsui harbor front. Now the whole harbor front of Hong Kong has been connected and open. And that's why we can go to anywhere in Hong Kong to see the firework. So things are actually evolving. And what is interesting about Hong Kong is always about the density, the energy, and the vibe, and also the global awareness or the international culture that we have had here. So I think Taiwan has good food, Tokyo has great food as well. But Hong Kong, we always have great international cuisines and also selections.
When I heard that question, I think it was a big one, because it's beyond as an individual what you can contribute in terms of design. Personally, it's very normal to compare growth, especially when others are getting better, like what Otto was saying. Especially we're in the geography whereby you will be compared to all the new China cities which are getting stronger in terms of economics, in terms of all the achievements. When we visit all the cities in China for projects, etc., we are very impressed also with many things that we feel, hey, why not in Hong Kong? It's like strange. So the efficiency in terms of, for example, just payment and transport and all that, when we think about the other Asia cities, I mean, I'm Singaporean, so it's inevitable you would compare Hong Kong and Singapore. There's always this rivalry. I feel the main difference in making a city memorable, outstanding, apart from just a very useful word about the hardware and the software, what we can observe in Hong Kong would be, in terms of the formality, there's always a sense of formalness in Hong Kong. I don't know why, I just feel that as a vibe in terms, when you do it as a comparison with the other Asia cities, since your question was about in Asia, how you push it back up again. It's not right or wrong, it's just how we project ourselves. When you look into developing new ideas, you do need people, fundamentally human, to make it work, and that's just not one person's effort. So the vision to have it, the connection, when here in Victoria Dockside, this is exemplary of one great product which is magnificent, not just in terms of like flashy design. If you take a jumbo boat, that the famous Hong Kong jumbo boat, and you take the jumbo and you go along the waters, I doubt another city in China has that vibe. Or rather, actually, I should say, no other cities in China has that vibe. You go along the waters, you enjoy the skyline, and there's this, I wouldn't even say glitz, is a mixture of glitz and roughness in Hong Kong. So I think every city is different and is unique, and we call out the uniqueness in there. As a personal individual standpoint, say for us as a company, we're proud to put a Hong Kong firm in the international map. But like in Middle East, for that project, for instance, there's 12 hotels. We are the only Asia firm, only Hong Kong firm in that, and I'm so proud of it. So I think everybody makes a part, and just as a collaboration to synchronize and make an energy, and that energy would make the difference. Yeah.
Also, can I also say one thing is, I also observed that, like, for example, in Hong Kong, the growth has been much slower than pre-97. So the economy grows mainly through from the 70s to the 80s and the 90s. It grows really, really fast. But in fact, most of the arts and culture venues, like museums, arts venues, were actually only built in the last 5 years. So I just wonder if the slowing down of everything give us more sophistications or opportunities to actually grow art and culture and design. I think a lot of good designs actually only being nurtured in the last 5-10 years, not before when the economy grew really, really in high speed. So maybe this is more similar to American or European cities or Tokyo, when the economy becomes lower, but then you got more time to appreciate arts and culture and design.
Yeah, that brings me to, when you mentioned about arts. I mean, when I first came here in the city, I was like, what's going on with all the museums? I mean, like, first, where are they? And second, what's the content in there? I mean, if you go into a museum to want to be inspired and all, and I was disappointed. But in the recent 2 years, you see the fruit of labor from many people, and things are changing. So there's so many to even take care of. I mean, for myself, I paint, and to paint in the arts, it's just one aspect. You can't just put up a show of, for instance, a Da Vinci, a traveling show, and then expect that people will just come. It doesn't work that way. You put up a show, you nurture the awareness of it, and you don't nurture the awareness of it just 2 months before the show. You don't nurture it like just, you put it into the next generation. You put it into as a way of life. It's not just a show that you go just to see and daka and just be there and just take a picture. That there must be that embedded being in ourselves within the individuals of a city that will make that difference. Yeah.
I think after listening to you guys, something came to my mind is, I think Hong Kong just has been running too fast in the last 20, 30 years. And I think it's time for it to it's good actually, for it to slow down a little bit and re-examine the inherent value of being one of the key cities in Asia. I don't know, when I was listening to you guys, I was thinking about conservation. I don't know why. I remember when I was talking to a couple of guys some time ago, Hong Kong, a lot of heritage buildings has been demolished long time ago to make way for new high-rises, which is quite different from Singapore, which is quite different even from Macau, and from other part of Asian city. And because I'm handling a heritage conservation project right now, I have been exposing myself to a lot of similar projects in Hong Kong, which I think is a pity. It's really a pity because all these buildings are scattered around in different areas, in very isolated places, really difficult to go. But at least I think it's good for the government actually to spend the effort in actually conserving those buildings, making it look good and functional again for other purposes. But I think it's still a long way to go for Hong Kong in terms of that particular aspect. I have also been talking to some conservationists on one aspect is there are a lot of key heritage buildings like the Supreme Court or the Court of Final Appeal. this kind of building should not be used by the government only. They should actually relocate whatever function inside to a new building elsewhere, and then make that heritage building something for the really ordinary people or tourists to actually able to go and visit all the time and every day. So I think that we are with all this slowing down, when people are brainstorming how to bring it back again, maybe it's really a time when the government can actually rethink what they have been doing and what they have to do in the future, and make Hong Kong in a way a bigger point in the map again.
Wow, fantastic. This is music to my ear because I research adaptive reuse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so from design to conservation, hardware, software, food and culture, fantastic. So I don't know about our time. How are we doing with time, Wesley? Are we, how much time?
We are open, actually. We still
Okay.
have plenty of time if
Okay.
you want to continue.
Sure. Well, we have a question from Taiwan. So those Japanese visitors, you cannot let Taiwan, have the last word in questioning. So I encourage any one of you to raise your hand, put up your hand. You can speak in your own language, and we'll have a translator, who's Wesley, of course, to help translate.
Oh, that's good.
French?
Come on. Wesley needs to practice his Japanese. So, any question from Japan? We know someone from Osaka. We know someone from Tokyo. Any daring question that, yes? Hi.
I'm not going to translate. Oh, Pastor Mike.
ウェスリートランスレーションお願いしますね。今までの話は半分以上理解してないんで変な質問かもしれないんですけどじゃあね、
はい、
カルチャーについて質問したい。でちょっと話を聞いて思い出したのが、1970年代とか80年代のニューヨーク行った時の記憶が思い出したんですよ。それで、それはですね、ニューヨークというのは、コンテンポラリーアートがやっぱりカルチャーを引っ張っていって、でニューヨークのインテリアデザインとかアーキテクトっていうのはすごくこうレベルが低かったんですよね。で圧倒的にはい。
そこまで。So, first, his English is not perfectly understood all the conversation. So could be a question could be out of the stream. However, he wanted to ask about the cultural questions. For example, he was thinking of like 1970s, 80s in New York. That time, the art was driven of the culture, while the architects or the designers, their quality wasn't as high and matching as the art.
どうぞ。それで昨日 M プラスに行ってきました、初めて。で羨ましいなと思ったのが一つ。それからこの K11 は僕3年前に見てるんですよ。でオットさんの吹き抜けのものすごくダイナミックなデザインを見てました。で思ったのは香港の今は、M プラスとかあと K11 ミュージアムというのもできたんですよね。ああいうものができるカルチャーを引っ張っていくっていう動きと、それからどうもデザインのレベルがすごくこう今エキサイティングになってるような気もしていて、で思い出したのは昔のニューヨークのようなことでコンテンポラリーアートが引っ張ってるっていうのが香港の雰囲気なのか、それともオットさんとか皆さんのねデザインの方が勢いがあるのか、そんなことをちょっと聞きたいなと思いました。
So the question is, after he visited Empress, and then he actually visited this K11 3 years ago, and he witnessed how the design is becoming quite strong in Hong Kong. And so that he was kind of overlapping the memory of New York when the art actually drives design and architecture, or in Hong Kong is still the similar condition. The art is influencing designer, or designer is actually influencing the artist. So he wanted to kind of understand the condition in Hong Kong. How could Hong Kong create this sort of stream of designers to produce such amazing projects?
I'm sure this question must goes to Jeff.
No. Let the two designers answer first.
Okay.
Let them answer first. I'll try to see what can I supplement, because I think they, after doing this project and witnessing all the changes in Hong Kong the last 10 years, maybe they will have some insight as well. Otto-san.
Okay. So I can't speak for everyone, but I do see that the city is now getting more interest in art, in design, in culture. One of the observations that we have is a lot of decision makers, they are educated globally. They actually study elsewhere. They've seen what's going on in New York, maybe in Europe, maybe, or in Tokyo, or any other spaces. So they brought back, and they become more of them become decision makers, not only in the government, also in private developers. And they are very keen to have art and culture as element to drive the economy, to drive how we live, and define the new lifestyle, to make the city more interesting. Because gone were the days Hong Kong is only about business, about earning money. But it is a fantastic financial hub, but now we also want to be an important Asian culture hub. So, and as an architect and designer myself, I'm also an artist too. This is only because there are much more opportunities to do smaller things like interior design, art installations, but there are less opportunity to build big buildings. So it's actually quite difficult to have a commission of new buildings in Hong Kong because there are not many spaces left. So we are turned to conservation, we are turned to renovations, we are turned to adding new spaces and features in our installations everywhere. So this Hong Kong is quite established, and that's why we have to think about the small things. We have to think about the small moments and trying to create a better experience. So, and then arts and culture and design are becoming the public interest, and that's why we got more opportunity to work on those. And we also think that for my practice, we are slowly getting more and more international commissions, like in the last 2-3 years, because maybe the world has here Hong Kong, has seen what we have been doing in Hong Kong, and given us more opportunity to also work elsewhere globally.
When I hear the word arts, it's always my eyes will just lead. And so when we look into here in Hong Kong, the question of how it influenced vice versa, whether which one comes first. I think Otto mentioned about the small moments. I always think that art is not like, okay, you put a painting up there on a wall, or you put an installation on in a garden, or then you paint graffiti on the boundary walls of, maybe you went to free space, you saw how beautiful and open the free space is. Is to me is not anything about those, even though they are arts, they are visual arts. For me, it is about the experience in everywhere you are as a being. From the time that you went to free space, say for instance, if you have something that it's kinetic and that is inspiring you to take part, inspire you to maybe think about things and figure out or give a question, and that will be a lot more lingering as an expression of art than anything visual, because I don't think we want to limit that to just as a visual art. So, and how we translate that into the design and how maybe the cityscape will be changed because of art itself. It's gonna take every single effort to do so. So we have to participate, be it you as a creator or you as a participant. Then it will be a lot more cohesive and meaningful. Yeah.
Well, this is a very different journey for me, I think. I think for typical development, we normally the developer asks the architect to do the design, and then interior designer come in to do interior design, and then artworks came at the very last moment. But for the whole development, including Rosewood Hong Kong, arts and architecture are being developed
Parallel.
in parallel. In parallel, we have designated a definite space for the arts, and then the interior designer may have to design around it instead. Or, for example, like the escalating climber, it was part of the art is actually part of the interior design. So our concept in Victoria Dockside, and especially in all the K11 mall, is art and design actually comes together. Is an art venue itself. The sales component is in a way secondary, but rather the experience of along the journey is more important when we actually design the whole thing together with the designers. But of course, retail value cannot be compromised in a way, but during the process, when we actually integrate arts and design and even architecture together, the result, the overall outcome will be very inspiring to generate more business in a way. So it's a very different approach from our company, from our group, in actually developing even residential projects, commercial projects in such a way, which is rather different from other developers. Once we have an art mall over there, which is the baby K11. It was born, I think, 10, 11 years ago, and the experiment actually started there and mature in this K11 museum. A lot of, I think a lot of developers, if I may dare to say, actually try to copy in a way that, oh, they have a space, they put some artwork there. They have a wall, they put some artwork there. It has become a trend if you go to other malls in Hong Kong, you will see this kind of approach. But how the journey is curated is not part of the design process. It's just cut and paste. It's just like cut and paste. So when you actually have a chance to tour around K11 Museum or to Rosewood, please try to experience this kind of inherent design approach. That is, I think, is a bit different from when you actually visit other malls in Hong Kong.
Yes, I cannot agree more. If you talk about New York, if you think about Guggenheim, the Guggenheim Museum by Frank Lloyd Wright, the art and the architecture, I think they're merged together semiotically, right? This semiotic relationship, I think K11 Museum is trying to do that as well. There's no which one goes first or second. I think this kind of interconnectivity, this kind of relationship between the art and the architecture, it's fused together really vividly. I think even more so when you were saying the first K11. The reason it's called K11, it's actually a file name from URA. It's an urban renewal project.
No,
K11.
in a way, no. I mean, our official. Okay, this is one of the
myth.
one of the ways, one of the myths that people actually talking about it.
Yes.
But officially, K11 from our brand book, K11 is something that will arouse you to think, why K11? K11 could be a lot of meaning to a lot of other people. To her, maybe it's a file name, but to some other people, oh, maybe it's something that is related to art, or K11 may be something related to something very different as well. So K11, our official brand guideline is imagine whatever you want to be.
Yes. So my point is that, yeah, so from the branding all the way to even how you arrive into K11, from the MTR, like one of the major infrastructure in Hong Kong, the arrival to the shopping center, how art is driven or integrated into entire space. That as a beginning, I think it's not something that you see in other shopping centers in Hong Kong. And of course, with that experience, develop into K11 Musea, which is even more exemplified because of the expanse of space, because of the nature, the characteristic, how it's situated in one of the most landmarks, most prominent locations in Hong Kong. And I think the attitude and the philosophy behind New World obviously kind of put that art and architecture together. I hope we answer the questions that you had proposed.
K11 Art Mall.
Yeah. Yeah. And also in China as well. This branding, it's not just in Hong Kong now because of New World development now is expanding into other parts of China with this. So everybody think about K11, they know that, okay, quality, interesting and really provocative. Lisa, did I jump you off? Did you want to?
No, it's just nothing really. When just because you mentioned about, Jeff mentioned about the art integrating in the early stage. Just last Friday, we have a client from Taichung, and he's like, okay, so all the artwork proposal will come later. All the budgeting and everything will be after the interior design is finalized. We cannot disagree more, and so that I'm not trying to tap high, but we're really grateful for developers like New World, who has that vision, who has that understanding. I mean, even for Rosewood, it's we all know the art. It tells a story. If you go to Rosewood Hong Kong, you go to the lobbies. You don't even have to go up to any others. There's plaques explaining the art is rotating, the curation of the objects, everything. They are integral part. They are not an afterthought. This is something to get used to and to understand. Otherwise, it won't work just single-handedly from the design execution.
Yes, and I think the definition of art also is interesting. It's not, one side of art we can say we'll go to M+, and that is art. But here, I think art can be interpreted at many levels. The peacock out there, it's a slide, it's a playground, but it's also a piece of art. The Oculus you see from lab, it can be a structure, but at the same time, an installation, a piece of art as well. So the toilet that you'll be visiting later on, it's also a piece of art. It's very functional, but at the same time, I think there are elements that we appreciate greatly in an artistic, aesthetic sort of sense. Great. So any other questions? Wesley, what do you think? Yes.
Yep. I'm also a designer, and I want to try to tap high a little bit to New World, because really, for me, I really think K11 and New World really played a very important role in promoting art to the general public. Because I remember, back in 10 or 20 years ago, for general public, they don't know about art at all until New World developed K11 Art Mall. I think it was just called K11 at that time, because I had a few projects there when they were first established. So I thought, why K11? It's such a strange name to me at that time, seriously. But then, yeah, again, they promote that kind of imagination and creativity for the designers like us. And also, other than New World, I don't know when Art Basel came in, they also play a very important role. And after Art Basel, immediately they have Art Central and also Affordable Art. They really play a very important role to educate the general public what art is about, because in the old days, art is just for the rich people. Arts are very expensive, but then, yeah, art can be just for everyone, for our livings. Yeah, that's what I want to add on to. Do you want to continue? But I think it's about the time. It's 11:50, so we end this session. Thank you very much for listening. We have, thank you to K11. They have arranged a docent architectural tour, which is about 45 minutes. And after the tour, it's free time. So please find a nice restaurant by yourself to have your lunch, and then come back to the lobby at 1:45. And then the afternoon section will start at 2 p.m. Is all right? Yeah. Thank you very much. Last, but can I invite Dr. Tris Key again to present a certificate of appreciation to Jeff on behalf of K11 and also New World Development. 兩個名義。Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks, Lisa, and thanks to Otto. Thank you very much. So see everyone back here at 2 p.m. Thank you. Enjoy the tour.